listening to Between Two Bridges, a business-to-business podcast. With your hosts, Anthony R. Destiny, Joe Ferrani, and Jerry Kenna. Interviewing entrepreneurs, business operators, and investors. This episode of Between Two Bridges is sponsored by Paymark Payroll. Payday is the most important day to your most important people, and payday is made easy at www.payyourpeople.com.
Alrighty, we're here with a special episode of Between Two Bridges. Little different format. We have a special guest on. Faith, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what's going on tonight.
Sure. Thanks, Anthony. My name is Faith. I'm currently an economics student, and I have a final project due within the next couple of weeks where I'm supposed to interview some business owners and get a feel for how they perceive the market in their area. Jerry, Anthony, and Joe have been kind enough to let me commandeer this episode of Between Two Bridges and ask them all about their respective businesses. So that's what we're going to do today.
Sounds good.
All right. Something we don't do a lot is talk about ourselves. I mean, we talk about what we got going on, but we never really have dove into our...
Nobody ever asks us questions.
Yeah. No one cares about me. They just put me in the corner.
Taking finals in a long time.
Yeah. I didn't even turn in my last final project. I figured I was hiring myself either way.
Well, let's start us off, Faith. Hit us with some fastballs.
Okay, so I thought that we could start out with just a few yes or no questions, and I could get a yes or no from each of you guys, and we can see if we need to elaborate or if the yes or no feels like enough of an answer. So I'm going to start out with, I could make more money in another business or working someplace else, but I'm staying here for other reasons.
I'll go with yes. Actually, yes.
Okay. What about you, Jerry?
Yeah, I probably could. I think there's other businesses that the margins are better. But there's parts of the business that I really enjoy, the working with business owners. And the day-to-day, the working with business owners and being with like-minded people keeps me engaged in it. So yeah, I think there's businesses that have higher margins and probably less stress, but yeah, I stay.
Yeah, I mean, at face value, the answer is yes, but I like where I'm at. You know? I could always make more, I suppose. But yeah, I'll go with yes.
Yeah, I always use the line of like, I have a 20-year PhD in dry cleaning. So like, where does that correlate?
You don't know where you take that for another gig. And what's your reason for staying, Anthony?
Oh. I mean, I have a family to take care of. We could start there. If I was still single, I'd take a lot more risk. I enjoy my career. I built that from the ground up, so I have a lot of pride in what I do there. But my latest endeavor is a completely new thing for me in terms of general contracting and construction. It's different than what I do in my 9-to-5. So I enjoy learning on the fly, learning new things, challenging myself. Just turned 40, so yeah, I guess that's why, I like being in Pittsburgh as well. I'm sure I could move New York, California, Texas, Florida, and make a lot more money, but enjoy the black and gold too much, I guess.
And then, Joe, you said that you have a 20-year PhD in dry cleaning. So is the issue with going to a different field that you don't feel like you have the transferable skills, or do you feel like you're just comfortable in dry cleaning and you kind of have a little foot in the pocket there?
A little bit of everything that you said. Okay. I think one of my main reasons for staying at this point is for my customers and my employees. You know, I have a couple of good employees that I really appreciate, and there's a lot of investment going on in our business right now. We've purchased a building, new van, lot going on, and I just got to see it through. You know, you've been doing something so long, and you have a vision towards the end, and you can't quit now. So why quit? So, but yeah, so we do have some other things we do. I have a manufacturing company that kind of diversifies my daily tasks, but right now we're just trying to push everything over to the finish line here. So
that makes sense. So it seems like a common theme between the three of you is that you all have a pretty good network built up. You've all done a really good job networking with your individual businesses, and it would be a pretty big risk to step away from that network and go into a different field. Does that seem accurate?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's hard to recoup, like I said about the investment. You know, it's not paid down yet. So if you're going to leave a business, you got to have it paid off. So if you still owe $500,000, you don't want to leave. I'm in a bad age to leave, I guess.
Right.
Recircle in 10 years, I'll be like, yep, I left yesterday.
I guess this kind of draws me into my second question, which is switching from one activity or product to another would be relatively easy for me in my business.
Can you repeat that again?
Sure. So switching to a different field or product, it would be easy for you. Or is that a no?
No, I feel like it would be pretty easy. I think that we sit in this room and we do what we do because we have the ability to, like, if they outlawed dry cleaning tomorrow, or they didn't allow somebody to file your taxes for you, or you couldn't, you know, if Anthony couldn't build something, we would all find the next thing relatively fast.
Yeah. One of the things that, and you know me from the real estate side of my business, my career for the property management side, but that's another side of my career, right? So one thing that I've worked on in the last few years is finding other lines of service that are complementary to what I do every day. So what other products and services can I offer to the current network, the current client base? And I found myself for that tangent that we went on a few years ago, is that a big part of my accounting firm clientele had become real estate investors. I've been involved with real estate investors for a long time. I was, when I was in college and got involved in accounting, and actually started dating my wife, was introduced to her dad, who at the time had owned over 50 rental units. Sitting at his kitchen table, he said, "So you're going to school to be an accountant?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Good, you can start doing the books for my rentals." So I got a quick lesson on accounting for rental properties. And from there, I was introduced to his tax accountant and started working with him. And next thing you know, I'm working in his office with him, started doing tax returns with him, got involved with a real estate networking group in Pittsburgh called Acre, Allegheny County Real Estate of Pittsburgh. It's a networking group. It's a pretty sizable one. Took some classes there about stuff that they didn't teach in college, right? They teach you accounting classes, but there's no classes on real estate accounting. So I was taking classes on how to use QuickBooks to do real estate accounting, how to handle lending for real estate, how these guys are doing it with hard money. So I was learning the inside track on how this stuff works. So I've been with my wife. We started dating when I was 19. I'm 40 now. So it's been 21 years. And so I've been involved in real estate for that long on the accounting side. So over that time period, I have developed relationships with a lot of real estate investors in the Pittsburgh area. And real estate investors talk. Real estate investors are one of the, I always say that it's a unique business where even though we're all competing, we all work together. There's enough out there for everybody. So when it comes to learning and comes to finding the right deals and working with the right lenders and the right insurance companies and the right accountants and attorneys, everybody shares that information. So it became, it kind of blew up, and I got involved actually with a Facebook group, Pittsburgh Real Estate Investors Facebook group. I just started going on there, and I joined the group, and people would ask questions like, hey, I'm thinking about buying a truck. How do I write this off?
So what he's saying, Faith, is he's already pivoted several times.
I have, yeah.
And he will keep pivoting.
Yeah. So it's a long-winded answer, but yeah, I pivot all the time. So I built this. So I was involved with all these real estate investors. So it became to the point where it was like, hey, having a property management company is not that far-fetched. We are already involved with all these investment companies, all these investors. So we can start a division where we're managing property, and we can handle all the finances for them. We can handle, we're doing it anyway. So it became a complementary business. So I have that. We do payroll processing. We do credit card processing. So we have all these different services. So when I created my Landmark Business Solutions, it was never intended to be just an accounting firm. I never wanted to just be a public accounting firm. That's why it's Business Solutions and not Landmark Accounting Services. My intention was to be able to take a new business, a startup, sit at a conference room table and say, here's your attorney, here's your marketing guy, here's your insurance guy, here's what we're going to do to get you completely set up, and it's a one-stop shop for everything you need to start a business. That was kind of my goal. Now it's morphed a little bit from that, but that's kind of always been the idea, is to be able to provide not just accounting, but all the different services. So we kind of do everything financial for any small business. So we can set you up to do credit cards and payroll and everything. So yeah, we pivot all the time.
I noticed that actually specifically for Landmark Business Solutions. I watched y'all's recent episode on the Augusta rule, and I thought it was really a creative strategy to go ahead and reach out to individual homeowners who are likely to be able to rent out their homes during the
U.S. Open. Yeah.
The U.S. Open. The U.S. Open. That's going to be happening in a couple of years up there.
More people should watch our shows, because a lot of people I've talked to didn't even realize that they're sitting on a gold mine in this area right now.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, especially up there, because you mentioned the population is so small, and when these guys come into town, they're not going to want to stay in hotel rooms. They're going to want to stay in a comfy house.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hopefully my comfy house.
For a lot of money, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And then, Anthony, what were your thoughts on that? Switching to another venture, would that be easy for you at this point?
Yeah, I think it would be. I think we all have skills. Like if you asked me to go be a farmer tomorrow, I'm sure I could find a way to pull it off.
YouTube.
Yeah, it just... I think there are certain people that don't want to adapt and are willing to ride it out till the end, but I have more of like, you only live one time type of thing. So I'm way more risky than my wife likes, but I certainly take chances when they come up. So I like to be flexible in the way I think, which is one of the reasons I'm here. I like to learn things from different people. So to answer you bluntly, yeah. I think I would.
It's funny you say about your wife, and it takes time.
Yeah.
But I'm 7 years in now, and like before I'd be like, I'm thinking about buying a van. And then I just show up with one now.
Yeah.
She's like, I wouldn't have said no. I trust you.
Yeah.
Like, it's getting there.
All right. So it seems like an entrepreneurial mindset is more to do with your success than the specific field that you all have decided to go into.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, I wanted to ask you guys about how your perception is on whether or not your price affects how much business you're receiving. So if you were to change your price for whatever services you're charging for, are you aware of how much more or less business you would get?
Joe,
Wow.
you're going through
I might
this.
be the price raising king of Pittsburgh because I have figured out a cost product, like what it costs me to do the goods and what we need to make, and the number's the number. So I don't care if I lose business or gain business because I raised my prices. But what I've learned is I've lost very little business and have had very little pushback, like less than probably 5 customers. The last increase said something at all. And then you just look at them and you say, look, everything's going up, and they're just fine with it. So I am the highest priced shirt currently in the North Hills, and it hasn't affected my bottom line at all. I think a lot of business owners are afraid to raise their prices.
Yep.
But with price increase, you might lose 10%. But if you're raising your prices 20%, you can afford to lose 10% of your, you can afford to lose a little bit.
Yeah.
So
I'll echo that, and we talk about that a lot on the show. And it's tough as a business owner because when you're starting out, you're hungry. You're trying to get every bit of business you can. You come in with low prices, and you quickly discover that you end up with too much work, and sometimes it's the wrong work. You end up with I don't want to make it sound like it's not appreciative. You don't appreciate the work in the business, but you want to position yourself that you're attracting the right clientele, regardless of what your business is. And do you know Gary Vaynerchuk? Gary V. He's a marketing guy. He's all over social media. I go back to him a lot of times when I talk to clients about pricing. He was doing a Q&A, and there was a photographer that asked him, how do I make more money? Because I can't fit anything else into my schedule. I can't possibly do any more work, and I need to make more money. And he said, well, raise your prices. And he's like, well, I'm already kind of right in the middle. I don't know if I should raise my prices. And the question he asked him is, are you better than your competition? And he said, well, yeah. He goes, well, then price yourself that way. You don't need to be the cheapest. You don't need to do all the work that comes your way. Sometimes it's okay when clients walk away and say it's too much money. Sometimes that's okay. And you have to kind of position yourself sometimes to be maybe a premium service, because a lot of times when you price yourself too low, all you're doing is adding stress. And with especially lately, costs of everything are through the roof. Labor costs, material costs, rent, everything is so high that you end up, and we've talked about this on the podcast a bunch of times, where you basically end up, you're taking on all this work and you're taking on all this stress just to pay your bills, just to pay your staff, and your bottom line's not changing. So you may go from $1 million a year worth of revenue to $2 million worth a year worth of revenue, but your profit margins didn't change. You have twice as much payroll, you have twice as much costs, but you're not bringing home any more money. You just have twice the stress, or maybe 4 times the stress. So you can't be afraid to raise your prices. You have to, and it's a battle that every business owner goes through. I go through it. I've been in business for a long time, and I still go through it. But it's something that you have to do. But it's one of those things, like Joe said, like every tax season, I wrestle with it. Like I've got to raise these prices. I have to. And I stress about it, and I lose sleep about it. And I hate, especially the clients that I sit in front of that I have to be like, when they're ready to write that check and I have to raise their price and they're like, that's more than last year. I dread that. But then when you do it and nobody says anything because they get it, because everything is so expensive now, it's like, man, why do I stress about this? Like, everybody understands that everything is more. And the people that don't get it, the people that don't understand that costs go up and it just kind of is what it is. Sometimes you have to realize that some people just don't get it, and you're always going to have people, people don't fret whenever they're going on Amazon and buying whatever, and they don't fret when they're going to department stores and buying whatever. And, but small business owners, we struggle, and we're getting pressed hard with costs. So you have to raise your prices, and sometimes you're going to lose people. You just have to make sure that you raise your prices enough that when you lose the people, it's not going to hurt you too bad.
And that's one thing actually you've been very helpful for me with, because I am a very, very, very small time real estate investor, and Jerry manages my property out there in the Buchanan area. And he's been really great in helping me figure out where to set prices, not only because he's very much more familiar with the market than I am, but because he's a lot more business savvy than I am as well.
Yeah. The tricky part about that, and we've talked about this before, when you're pricing your rentals, is that there's a sweet spot. And you have to make sure you don't price it to the point where it's so high that you only attract the people that never intend to actually pay it, because that happens, where people apply and then they just never freaking pay it. And then you have to evict them, and it's a headache. But, units rents have gone up a lot, but rates are up. And, you have to get past, you post a property on the internet, and immediately everybody comments, I could buy a place for less than that. Well, yeah, you could, but you can't buy it and finance it and maintain it and pay insurance on it. And you get a lot for that rent. You're not just getting a place to live, you're getting a place maintained that you don't ever have to do anything except for turn the key and sleep there. You don't ever have to do anything. So when that furnace breaks and the landlord sends somebody immediately to fix your furnace and you don't ever have to do anything, well, if you own the place, that's on you. So that's a service. You're getting a service provided to you for that rent. And people have a hard time understanding that, especially people that are behind a keyboard on the internet. But it's something you have to kind of wrap your head around, that prices have to go up.
Okay. And then Anthony, what's your take on it?
I'm sure I'm leaving money on the table, but part of it's building relationships early on. I think if you're a new business, you probably come in a little lower just to build up your network type of thing. You look at it from a long-term perspective. Maybe I'm losing $100 on this deal, but I may gain $10,000 over the rest of the year or something of that effect. I do network with people, so I do know the average price of a job or what it may take. So I factor that into my pricing, the skill involved, the work that I'll be doing. But my project management background, I think, plays a part into it too, because there's kind of three things to a project: time, cost, and scope. So I'll look at how much time's involved, what the customer actually wants, and then factor that into my pricing so that 90 to 95% of the time I end up in the green. Maybe it's not a big of a nest egg as I thought initially. Obviously, things come up. You break things, stuff of that nature, just things that you didn't anticipate. So, maybe your costs are a little higher that will eat into your profits, but certainly aware of price points and things of that nature.
My industry is pretty fortunate, because if we go, I've learned that in my closest competition, people are only going to travel about 10 to 15 minutes from their house to go to a dry cleaner's. They're not going to drive 2 hours to save money on dry cleaning. But whenever I took over 7 years ago, everybody around me was pretty cheap, and there was one guy that was pretty high. And then when I started raising prices, I noticed that the phone rings quite a bit. And they're like, "What are you charging for a shirt?" And what are you and then prices have gone up all around me. Like, so they were definitely fearful to raise their prices. And then I don't care. Somebody said to me, would you rather do 1 million suits for $1 or one suit for $1 million? And that resonated with me since the beginning of time. And I'm like, well, if I got to do 500 shirts a day to make $500, why not charge $5 a shirt and do 100 shirts? And that's where we are, that's kind of where we got to.
I liked what Jerry said. Like, yeah, at some point you have to get specialized, or you're just kind of in a rat race mode. If you're chasing, $50 every day, that's all you're ever going to get. So specialized skills definitely, or niche, or whatever you want to call it, certainly should be a goal for a business owner.
That makes sense.
Yeah, as long as your product.
Being, kind of early on in your business relationships with people. So I know that Jerry and Joe have both been in their businesses for about 20 years. Are you newer into yours?
Yeah, I mean, I've done construction since I was probably 12, but legally for the IRS since 2022. So, yeah, 2 years, you could say.
Do you feel like you're still getting a feel for your market in terms of what you can charge?
Right now, it's just about staying in the green month to month. So if I could win every month, which I'm 6 out of 7, I look at that as a win. So am I leaving money on the table? Probably, but I'm looking at this as a longer term strategy. Like we talked about initially, I can't just pivot to it with some of the obligations I have, but I think if we look back 2 years ago where I just had an idea sitting in a room to where I'm at now, there's certainly consistent growth there, so I'm excited about it.
Great. Okay, so moving on, these are definitely questions, but there are many replacements or substitutes for what I make. That's for the services I provide.
Yeah, there's definitely competition in my industry.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually did really enjoy when you all elaborated on it. It just, I wanted to, sorry, I didn't use this thing like I was trying to get y'all to stop talking. No,
I mean, you can go on Facebook. I think Pittsburgh's a blue collar area in general, so there's, I don't know, 300,000 people in Pittsburgh, probably 50,000.
295,000 contractors.
Yeah, so probably, yeah, everybody seems to be a contractor or knows a guy that knows a guy. So it's, you start with your network, your friends and family, and kind of build out from there, word of mouth, things of that nature. Social media, obviously, is a game changer. But yeah, there's a ton of competition out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of competition for me, both other accounting firms, other property management companies, but also with new software that's out now. There's people that do it themselves. There's people that do their bookkeeping themselves. You can do their taxes themselves. They do a lot themselves. So we don't. When I first started, I was more worried about competing with the do-it-yourselfer. I'm less worried about that now. I don't worry about competing with that cost like I probably was at the beginning. But yeah, there's definitely competition for my company.
Yeah. My industry's kind of changed over the last couple of years. COVID was a direct hit to a lot of small dry cleaners in this country. Locally, though, Pittsburgh kind of weathered the storm better than most. But from my front door currently, there's 4 other dry cleaners within 5 miles. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'm in a heavily populated and heavily traveled area. But we have a large grocery chain here in Pittsburgh, Giant Eagle. They're in the dry cleaning game. Not sure why. And then there's a couple other mom and pop shops by me, and then one other larger competitor. And I think what we do is people like to see and talk to the guy that's cleaning their clothes. We're in a trust industry. People want to trust you. We built that trust, and now we're leaving. We're going to a home delivery model, and that's fine. And I'm sure my competitors will pick up some work, but they're on a rat wheel to a never-ending cycle of just get the shirts done, get the pants done, get home and do it, and I'm not trying to live that life. But to answer your question, the competition then gets stronger when you go into our home delivery sector. There's people from all over the place like that are delivering. So now you take 20 dry cleaners from a 100-mile circle, and we're all competing for that work. So branding's important, trustworthiness, being there for people, that's all important. My other business, our manufacturing business, we are the only manufacturer of the product in the country right now. So that's kind of unique.
What product is that, if you don't mind me asking?
So we manufacture flexible ductwork for mold and asbestos remediation. So the margins on insulated ductwork have become a lot higher because it's more popularly used. So people that used to make this product have left this sector because they can make, it's the same product, it's just not done yet. So we sell it at an uninsulated state, and people then have gotten UL listed and start making more money. But I've always been, when I bought it, there was no desire to change. It was just to kind of make a little extra money and diversify, because we all did go through COVID. So
do those companies buy your product and then insulate it, or do they make it?
They make it, yeah. So, but like they're big companies. I mean, they're like multi-million dollar companies, and they're like, why are we making, one pallet of this duct when it's then taking away from the product that we are hammering on, Yeah. So like, they could get back into it. I just don't, the number's not there for a big company. So I've always been happy with like diversifying and making a little bit over 10 streams than just one, especially after COVID and I made $3 a day. I was like, well, we better figure this whole shit thing out, because I think I've told this on this, but I had like a thing my whole life, like since I started working, whatever I made on my birthday was, I would blow it no matter how much it was. So like when I was like in construction, if I made like $100 for the day, I'm 20, go out, drink it with my buddies, spend $100. As I got older and bought business, that number went up. And there was some stupid purchases along the way. But the first year COVID hit in March, I was getting $3.25 a shirt. I brought in $3.25. I had a wife, 2 kids. We couldn't even go to McDonald's that day for my birthday. So, yeah, that was nuts.
Yeah. All right. So the next question is, if a competitor company lowers the price of their product, my business will increase.
That's a good one. So is it like an extended lowering of the price, or if they offer a discount for a sale?
I'm going to go with an extended lowering of the price.
Well, people are price shoppers. So if there's a new guy in town doing shirts for 99 cents, I'm going to say that's not going to help my business. So I think I'd be fine, like long term. I would probably take a hit initially though, if it was a drastic savings.
Okay.
I don't think my business would be impacted much at all. My business, all the different facets of my business are built more on relationship, because when you're hiring an accountant or a property manager, you're hiring somebody that you trust to deal with your money, your assets, somebody that you're putting a lot of trust and faith into. I think that a price savings isn't going to be enough to necessarily impact my business that much. Maybe a little bit, but anybody that we would lose, it would be probably tax preparation business, if anything. And anybody that we would lose, it would be a very small percentage, probably single digit percentage, probably not noticeable. And it would be, it would honestly, tax season kind of, we turn, there's always we always have new business that comes. We always lose some because, well, my cousin did it this year, I did it myself this year, that kind of thing. So it probably wouldn't be super noticeable aside from typical business, and it would be your price shopper. So it wouldn't be I have tax clients that I've literally been doing their taxes for 15, 20 years. And those people, if somebody offered to do their taxes for free, would not do it. So I don't think the overall impact would be very significant for my companies because of the inherent trust that you would have to have. It's not a price shopping kind of business.
I'd say no as well. There's always cheaper guys out there. I'm sure there's people that would do my work for $20 in a 6-pack or something. But
a 30-pack jack.
Yeah, so my prices, again, I'm comfortable with. I bring a professional approach to it as well. There's not a lot of certified project managers in contracting, so I have that experience as well. So with my network, I am selective with who I work with. With it being a side hustle, I don't have to chase as much as if this was my only income stream. I'd probably be a little more hungry, but with the way I'm set up, prices out there I'm sure are lower, but it doesn't affect my day-to-day.
Okay. The next question is basically the inverse of what I just asked you. If another company raises the price of their product, my business will increase.
I could start that.
Yeah.
I've had times I do pick up, especially during tax season, business or clients that have come to me because prices have gotten, from my competitors, prices have gotten too high. So there is a breaking point there. Now, typically, in my experience, it's usually like the rule of twos. So it's usually like my price got too high and they screwed something up last year. Yeah, you know what I mean? Usually the price, if they're great, if it's, everything's perfect every year and the price sucks, but they treat me so well and everything's perfect that they're not going to leave. But the first time something goes wrong and that price is too high, they're gone. I've had that experience with clients, and I've brought on new clients for that reason. So I would think that we would be more impacted with that.
Yeah, it's funny because every time I raise my prices, that you have to pay attention to detail in our industry.
Yep.
And you don't get a second chance a lot of times when you're the highest priced. Then, like you said, then if they get a shirt back with button missing, then the shit hits the fan, because now they're like, I'm not getting a deal here, and it's like, we'll take care of it, we're sorry, but you got to be on point. Your product's got to reflect your price. Your price got to reflect your product. So
yeah, when you're raising your prices, you better make sure that the service or the product that you're providing is right.
And so I think that I think anything that would affect my dry cleaners, speaking of the retail end of it, would be temporary. So if somebody went low, people would go and then come back. Mm-hmm. If somebody went higher than me, I'd get the people that I don't really want as customers anyway, because they'd just be coming to me because I'm $1 cheaper. And I like people that take pride in their stuff and want to look good and come in and be like, hey, I want these, I like people that are enjoying the service that I offer. I don't want to just be this shop. It's already sweaty there enough. We want to, and that's kind of why we're doing what we're doing, because volume and quality kind of run together. And if you do too much volume, your quality is going to lack. And if you do too much quality, you can't get the volume done. So that's what we're doing here, is we're trying to become this a little bit more expensive dry cleaner that you never have to worry about. You don't have to look at the stuff twice. You just hang in your closet and wear it, hang in your closet and wear it. Where other places, you got to take the plastic off. You got to look at every item. You got to check every button before you leave, because the owner's pissed off and won't do anything after you left. And So, I mean, prices are prices, and I think that I would see it maybe like an influx either way, but it would be temporary because it's pretty stable now.
Yeah, it's there's people out there that can charge whatever they want because they have that much skill, and it's worth it. But if the average guy were to charge $1,000 more than something I know could be in my price point, I feel like my business would go up. But again, to their points, you pay for quality. So there's guys out there I can name drop all day, but their work is certainly worth the money that they're charging.
In my experience, and I'm not a contractor out in your world, but I deal with a lot of them. And my take as a consumer working with subs all the time is that I would rather pay a premium for somebody that's going to show up, do quality work that I don't have to babysit,
right,
and is reliable.
Yeah, you know what you're getting.
Yep.
And now a brief word from our sponsor.
This episode of Between Two Bridges is sponsored by Paymark Payroll. Are you tired of spending countless hours juggling payroll calculations, tax filings, and compliance regulations? Well, say goodbye to that chore and let Paymark Payroll take the burden off your shoulders. With our secure online portal, you can access your business information from any internet location, even your phone. Employees will love the ability to receive direct deposits, and they can access all their pay stubs, tax forms, and information through their own portal. Focus on growing your business while we take care of the rest. With top-notch customer support, we're always here to assist you with anything, at any time. Don't let payroll stress hold you back. Choose Paymark Payroll and experience the freedom to thrive. Contact us at payyourpeople.com for a personalized consultation and a demonstration of our powerful payroll solutions, and see how Paymark Payroll can better your workflow. That's payyourpeople.com. Join the growing list of satisfied businesses that have embraced the convenience and efficiency of Paymark. Payday made easy. Your business deserves nothing less than the best, and that's exactly what Paymark Payroll delivers. Now back to the show.
All right, the next question I'd like to ask is about taxes. So if for some reason your business has to pay more in taxes, do you feel you can pass on the entire tax to the consumer? Or would you have to keep some of it?
So
Yeah, we're letting him.
Yeah. Let the tax man deal with the taxes.
So how do you want? I think you have to build that into your cost, in my opinion. I'm not the kind of person, I don't like whenever, and I've got a lot of clients that do it, that want to write off every freaking thing they can possibly imagine so that they can show no income at all, and then they don't understand why they can't get a loan. I often use the phrase paying taxes is like buying borrowing power. It's a necessary evil. You have to do it. The bank wants to see that you do it. And if you don't do it, the bank's not going to lend you any money, and it's going to make your life a lot more complicated. But you have to build that into your bottom line. What is success and what you need as far as money to live and be comfortable and be wealthy, right? I mean, some people look at it like, I want to make millions and millions of dollars. Some people look at it like, I'm happy with, and wealthy to me is being able to go to a restaurant and order whatever I want without having to worry about what it cost. So everybody has a different thought process on that. So that idea of, do I eat it or do I build it in, is really based on what your outlook is and what do you want to walk away with at the end of the day. My personal opinion is that when I tell people, I gotta have a client, contractors a lot, because a big question I get from contractors a lot is, how do I figure out how to bid a job? What do I put in here for hourly rate for my labor hours? And, so I figure out, what are they paying for payroll, plus payroll taxes, plus workers' comp, plus this, plus that, plus this, plus that. Because it's not just like you're paying somebody $25 an hour. It's not $25 an hour. So what do I have to charge my customer per hour to be able to make money on these guys that are working for me? My opinion is, and what I go through with them, is that you need to figure in the fact that you're paying taxes on this. So, because at the end of the day, Uncle Sam's going to take a piece. So if you're not making enough money that, your profit, by the time you pay your taxes, there's not enough in the profit for you to live the lifestyle that you want to live, then your prices have to go up. And it goes back to how many hours can you work a week? Because if you get to the point where you're working 60 hours a week and there's not enough money left at the end of the week for you to live the life that you want to live, then your prices have to go up, or you have to make a change. And if that means that you can't eat those taxes, then you have to raise your prices. So I think it's kind of a complicated question, and it just depends on, I've got friends that are completely happy with a $50,000 or $60,000 a year job and live a great life and have a family, and then I've got friends that want to make $1 million and work around the clock and never stop. And it's just different mindsets and different goals, and there's nothing wrong with either. It's just different strokes for different folks, right?
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because like someone that makes 60 grand, like we did $1 million in revenue last year, and I made less money last year than I've ever made. And it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But as far as the tax question goes, I would think that the way the question sounds to me is like it would be an industry specific tax. And at that point, I would just add it to the bottom line. I'd pass 100% of that, because dry cleaning is an untaxed service, actually, federally and state.
As far as sales tax and things like that,
yeah. I mean, I pay an income tax, but
right.
So like, if the state were to then charge a 10% dry clean service tax, it would just go to the bottom line. It would. Allegheny County hasn't done it yet, but I'm sure that if they listen to this episode, they will. They're like, oh shit, we're not taxing dry cleaning? Gonna get after that. That's a luxury. But so I would just put it on the bottom line of my ticket and be like, this is hey, vote in November, because there's gonna be more underneath this coming.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could give an example. Like if you wanted, I don't know, a pool deck built as an example. So, as a customer, you're going to think, this is going to be, 5 days of work or something. And I don't want to pay more than $500. From the business owner contracting standpoint, they're not the ones going to Lowe's or Home Depot. They're not getting it delivered to their house. They don't have the tools. They don't have the insurance if somebody gets hurt on the job. They're not paying the taxes on that work. So there's a lot that goes into a contracting price outside of just labor or how much time it's going to take. I think people get into trouble at the end of the year, like Jerry said. Well, I charged what I thought it would be, and they didn't factor in taxes, insurance, things of that nature. So you have to pass some of that stuff on, or you're not going to survive.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe not all of it, but at least some of it.
Yeah.
You have to maintain a profit margin, or you're not going to last. Yeah.
Yeah, you hear that all the time. Like, I really like that company down the street. They were great. They were cheap. They were nice. Well, nice and cheap doesn't get you to stay in business.
Right.
You can have it one of three ways, right? Good, fast, or cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I think this is a good segue into the beefier question. So So this is not like a yes or no, pick your side type situation, but what types of government regulations are imposed on your business?
Well, we just had one this year. I got to register for. I still have to do that. Yeah.
Contracting license?
Yeah, and well, now I have that, so I have to get a license. I have to get insurance, but I also have to register my LLC with
the BOI,
the government. So
beneficial ownership.
Yeah, I mean, there's contractors out there that don't have their license. They're called hacks. There's people out there that don't have insurance. So those, I'm not willing to cut those types of corners. Whatever they impose, you kind of have to follow. So those are the three that I know
of. Mine is heavily regulated.
Go to prison.
Prison time. I'm for the property management. We are regulated by the state. We have to have a broker of record that is licensed with the Department of with Pennsylvania, and the accounting firm. We don't have to be licensed as an accounting firm. We have to have, at the minimum, all my tax preparers have to prepare tax ID numbers, so they're registered. Where we have to answer yes or no whether or not they have felonies, and they're subject to background checks and like that. And I have to go through a deeper background check in order to e-file a tax return. And I have an e-file identification number in which I have to be fingerprinted and go through a FBI background check for that. I am also an enrolled agent with the Internal Revenue Service, which I had to take 4 tests and background check and suitability tests. And then the Internal Revenue Service does annual suitability tests to make sure all my tax returns are filed and all my taxes are paid. Because if I don't pay my taxes, how can I be trusted to file anybody else's? And what else? Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah,
your payroll, your debit and credit card processing.
We have to go through. Yeah, we have to go through a lot of compliance stuff for the credit card processing.
Yeah.
There's a lot. All my companies, the payroll stuff, we have to go through compliance tests for the payroll. There's regulation in pretty much every facet of my business. I have to keep my nose clean. But major thing, like no felonies, some misdemeanors, even a DUI could get me to the point where it would be hard for me to do some of the stuff that I do. So I have to be pretty careful.
Funny enough, you would think the dry cleaning industry would be heavily regulated. However, I do not use perk, which is a banned substance, I guess you could call it, coming. They've been trying to outlaw it for years. They haven't quite yet. But we are organic. We are eco-friendly. Small things that I have to comply with as far as like boiler inspections and stuff like that. But other than that, I've kind of eliminated a lot of the government regulation in my business by going eco-friendly. We'll see where we stand in 20 years. They might decide that K4 is not...
This engineering headache that you're trying to get through.
That's just doing a build out.
Yeah, that's to build the plant. That's going to end terribly. But we'll save that for a whole nother episode. Tune in, Faith, because I'm going to be dry cleaning clothes in the middle of Freeport Road come September 1st.
Freeport in Houston or in a different part of town?
Harmer.
Yeah,
just so that way they know exactly where I'm at. 821 Freeport Road.
Nothing can find you. All right. How much do you think the government regulations affect your day-to-day operations?
As long as I'm in compliance, they don't really affect me. As long as I keep my nose clean and file my taxes and pay my taxes, I never hear from them. getting the, anytime, like a few years back, there was an issue with some quarterly payroll reports that I paper filed that they never processed, and I lost my suitability test, and I had to jump through all these hoops to be able to e-file returns again. That was fun. So like when stuff like that happens, because the IRS sucks, it's
timestamp that, please.
Yeah, it's a pain.
Endorsed by
but
the U.S. government.
Day to day, it's just it's really nothing as far as my compliance stuff goes.
Okay.
Yeah, they leave me alone.
Yeah,
I stay under their radar.
Yeah, stay out of their way, they stay out of yours.
So one of my first meetings with Jerry, he said, we're just going to try to keep all the red flags down and move forward.
Yep.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, right. It worked out so far.
All right. Do you feel like the government regulations affect your profit at all?
Yeah, I mean, I write insurance checks every month. I'd like to keep that money.
Yeah. Workman's comp, all that crap.
I started this because I don't like to pay taxes, so.
Mine, I probably have a little bit of a unique and probably surprising position on it, but no, I'm okay with mine because with the availability of the software like TurboTax and Tax Act and all these programs, I would rather go through these hoops and be on the up and up and be certified and be kind of on a short list of people that are allowed to do what I do, instead of any Joe Blow with a computer being like, I can prepare taxes and opening up TurboTax and charging somebody $100 to do it. And the same thing with property management, because I've seen a lot of times where just some guy will be like, I can do this, and it's not easy. As you've seen firsthand, it is a challenging business. And those hoops kind of keep the competition at bay, at least the competition that's just going to make a mess of things. And it kind of protects the consumer too, because somebody could be kind of sucked into like the guy that has no idea what he's doing and is going to undercut everybody and then just make a mess.
Yeah. I think about my industry and the dry cleaners is it's a high entry point.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what keeps competition down. So like,
right.
To open a dry cleaners now, your bottom line is going to be at least 500,000. And when the numbers and the volume's not there anymore, it's not a really lucrative, business to jump into overnight. So.
Right. But with my business, if you didn't have those hoops to jump through, you need a laptop.
Yeah, you go buy an iMac.
Internet.
Yeah,
I mean,
I filed my aunt's taxes. She was a W-2 employee for us, and years ago, Rocket Mortgage or one of those, I literally took a picture of her W-2 and it filed her taxes.
Yeah, knock it off.
Good thing she passed away, or else I probably would be getting audited.
Yeah.
But so I think with the government regulations eating my profits is like I had to buy a $70,000 dry cleaning machine that was eco-friendly. I mean, I didn't have to, but to keep going, to get away from that regulation. Our industry might not be regulated heavy, but it's about to be. So like the constant evolution of worrying about the environment, that I want to burn all the trees and kill all the fishes. But I can see a point where they're like, you're dumping too much down the drain as far as doing laundry because there's micro linens in the water and you're killing all the fish. And I mean, our industry, it could eat all the profits. Like if I have to before we would have to take 55-gallon drums of our still waste and it's $700 to get rid of it, and that shit could add up quick. I'm on the fortunate side of I'm in front of all of it right now. But if I ever get behind it, it could kill our industry for sure. It could eat a lot of the profits.
Okay.
Not to mention the engineers costing me $20,000 fucking dollars. That's a lot of fucking shirts you got to do for $20,000. You want to talk about regulation eating profit?
That's the new site that you're building?
Yeah.
Yeah. So apparently, I have an occupancy permit. I'm allowed to occupy the space. But I am not, it's not zoned for my use. So we have to rezone the space. which would have been very, very, very valuable information at the beginning of this in March, instead of when I tried to hook into my own sewer line in, what was that, beginning of May.
Yeah.
So they had 2 months to tell me I was about to get fucked.
Yeah.
They waited until the end.
Yeah.
And now we have rent. We've paid 2 more rent checks to our landlord. 1st August will be 3 more. And engineers are not cheap.
No.
I looked for one real cheap. I was like, back alley engineer. I tried to buy a stamp from Vistaprint and just stamp my own shit. Like, there was a lot of effort into skipping out on that regulation, but we're not. We got a guy now.
You're complying. And then, Anthony, what's your take on it? How much profit do you think the government regulations take away from you?
I mean, it's a fixed cost
Okay.
in the short term.
Okay.
But I guess as profits increase, my tax bracket would change. To Jerry's point, you kind of have to play the game, or you're just going to be limited in terms of lending. So the bigger you are, the more they get involved, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
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 Okay, that makes sense. Keeping your head down is kind of beneficial, not trying to expand too quickly.
Yeah, I mean, they say they're worried about the billionaires, but
They're worried about us, bro.
yeah, I'd like to see those audit numbers in terms of that, but ideally they are worried about people making more money than me.
And they really don't like when you're making cash.
Yeah, we won't talk about that. I don't make cash.
I don't make cash. It's dirty.
I don't touch.
It's poison, dude.
Okay.
What else you got?
How competitive would you say that your market is?
100%.
Yeah, you're in a very competitive market in contracting. My dry cleaning market is competitive. I mean, because we have seen during COVID, we've had a lot of wash and fold, and then wash and fold became sexy. So then now there's like online sites that they're not even they don't have a brick and mortar store. So like there's one out there, Poplin now, that would like hire Jerry's wife to clean clothes at home and fold your laundry and then deliver it back to their house. And she doesn't have, they don't have the cost that we have. You know, we have all this overhead, and it's kind of just like your business where like, hey man, I need a deck built. They're like, you don't need a permit. I'm just going to do it on a Saturday, you know?
If you
But as far as
go on
competition,
Facebook and say, hey, can someone hang a TV for me? You'll have 17 comments in 30 seconds. So.
yeah. So, I mean, the dry cleaners, it's stabilized right now, which is unique. Like my competition, I know where they're coming from.
Yeah.
These people on the internet, I'm not worried about that. That's not my competition. They're, like I said, the boiler's $25,000. The shirt unit's $60,000. The dry, it would take. I would know before someone would open up if they were opening a dry cleaner, because like my reps would call me and be like, hey, so and so, because people just can't shut their mouth up in our industry.
Yeah, my competition's kind of weird right now because the majority of people that own accounting firms are 70-year-old men.
Looking to sell, baby.
It's true. So they're not really competition because most of them aren't in growth mode. They're just happy with what they have, or they're slowing down. A lot of them are selling off. I think it's starting to shift. There's a local company that just opened up that's younger people that I've been watching, and I'm like, look at these sons of bitches. They're coming after me. I gotta gear up. It's time. But I don't know. I mean, I've been kind of fortunate that I don't really think I have a lot of real strong competition. But I think it might be changing, so might have to kind of change things up a little bit, get a little bit more aggressive.
Nice.
But we'll see.
I like aggressive Jerry. He's my favorite version of himself.
So Jerry feels like he does not have any direct competition for the unique services that he's providing right now.
I have competition. I think that my competition is different. I think that my competition, and for the past, 15, 20 years, have been, it's been just kind of strange where you have really big firms and you have small firms, but they're all typically run by older guys.
But can we say the competition is a good thing, right?
Competition is good. Yeah,
keeps you young and fresh.
Yeah, but they're
up at night.
They're not being. They're not typically trying to stay cutting edge with technology. They're not trying to adapt and pivot. They're just kind of doing what they're doing. And I don't really think that anybody's. I think a lot of businesses like Anthony's got competition out there that I would venture to say that there's guys every day that are waking up trying to eat his lunch.
They're cutthroat.
It's cutthroat. I think in the accounting world and even in the property management world, I don't think that that's necessarily the case. I think that there's competition out there. I don't think that it's super strong. And I might regret saying that on a podcast.
I think with your industry too is even if there's competition, it's not gonna affect you overnight.
No.
Like you're gonna have time. Like if you started noticing a decline, and that's kind of like with my business too. Like you can see it coming. Like it's not all gonna go away overnight. Even though it feels like it's gonna go away overnight, or some days you wake up and you're like, I'm out of fucking business. I haven't had an order in a week. Like it's like we're done. We're closed. And then it starts rolling in. So I don't know. I do have competition, which is fine because I do a lot of work as it is.
I got to worry about. Yeah, I'm busy. I got to worry about me.
Stay in the course.
Yeah. Just focus on
being modern,
being the best at what we're doing, and not really worry about what anybody else out there is doing.
Yeah, that's why. I think one time in 7 years, I've had my wife call other dry cleaners to see their pricing.
Oh,
yeah, one time.
It's like cheating on you.
No, yeah. Call other dry cleaners, see if they'll take you. But I was like, call around for pricing, and then she gave me the pricing, and I was kind of like, it's kind of what I thought, and it really doesn't change what they're charging because my rent's higher.
Yeah.
I'm using a better soap. I'm buying a nicer hanger. So I could charge what they're charging and lose money, or I could figure this out.
Yeah.
I'm a smart guy. I sat down and wrote it all down, and I can see it real time. Like, oh, hangers are up a nickel. Guess what's going up? Shirts are going up a nickel. Like if you just keep with it, you're fine.
Yeah.
So competition's for quitters.
Okay. All right. I've got just a couple more. What types of external factors do you think influence supply and demand in your market?
So material costs have fluctuated drastically. I think a 2x4 5 years ago was 95 cents. Now it's $9.95.
Yeah, large scale project. Like I looked at doing a garage in my house.
Yeah, I mean materials is certainly a variable cost. We talked about competition, so you ask 10 contractors, you're going to get 10 different prices.
Demand in this area though is high.
Demand, yeah. So I mean, if we were in like a hurricane area, I'm sure I could be a millionaire.
One storm, baby.
Pittsburgh's an older infrastructure city, so there's a lot of house flipping going on for sure.
And the younger generation doesn't know how to do the work.
Yeah, so they'd rather watch TikToks about it than go and learn it.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think I'm missing anything.
I don't know what external factors really affect the accounting world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody has to do their taxes every year. All the businesses need accounting, payroll, property management. I mean, real estate world changes, but they're kind of, might regret
interest
this too,
rates.
but it's kind of a recession-proof business.
Yeah.
Because But I will say that one thing that we do here that might be a little different than a typical accounting firm is that we're always looking for other things that a client might need. So we pivoted, like during COVID. I work closely with a lender, and we worked a deal with a small community bank, and we started processing PPP loans. And between me and this lender, I think we did probably $15 or $20 million worth of PPP loans for our clients.
They're going to start back checking you on that number. I'm hoping it's consistent.
Right. It might be. I think it is. I think it's about that.
It was a huge amount.
It's a lot of money.
A lot of money.
We did a lot of PPP loans. I did a lot of applications for the EIDL, earned employee retention credits. So we are constantly looking for anything we can offer a client that might pop up like that would be beneficial to a client, but it also brings us revenue.
Yeah.
So that we kind of look for that demand. So where there's demand, we go for it. And like the U.S. Open, right? So U.S. Open's coming to Oakmont. There's going to be people in the town that are going to be renting their house. There's going to be people in town that think, man, I'd like to rent my house, but I don't want to deal with it. So there's going to be demand. We're going to go out there and find it. So where there's not really a big fluctuation of supply and demand in these businesses, the idea is to go out there and find new demand and create it.
Yeah, I think what you were saying there is actually pretty much something I was thinking about the other day. Is we always talk about COVID on this show with all our business guests and everything. And I think we learned a valuable lesson during COVID that generations might not know before us and after us, but we knew that we needed to do something different. Like I had to find some revenue quick from somewhere else. Like it wasn't coming in dry cleaning. I did get some work with hospitals and stuff like that. So I think in my industry, you create your own supply and you create your own demand, because you could sit at your counter and be like, nobody's coming, or we've heavily went after home delivery and we're in a lot of markets that we wouldn't be in. I've acquired another dry cleaners that's very far from where we are in our industry terms. Like we're 35 minutes from Butler, and we have a huge presence in Butler. So when the demand was down, we created the supply,
Yeah. I think it goes back to something we talked about earlier in the episode with just that entrepreneurial spirit where you have to pivot. When I was very early in the business, I worked with a client that's no longer around, but they were a TV repair business and they were struggling. And I'm like, well, you need to pivot because these TVs that people are buying now are disposable. So instead of fixing them, you need to shift into installing new ones, hang them on the walls, install home theater equipment. You need to pivot because nobody's fixing these anymore. They're too cheap. And you have to, when you're in business, you have to look at that supply and demand, and you can't be like, well, there's just not a demand for this anymore, so I don't know what to do. You have to figure it out. You have to go where the demand is. And if that means that you have to change your business model, then you have to change your business model and you have to do it. And that company's out of business because they didn't pivot.
Yeah, I almost would look forward to a day. I mean, knock on wood, this doesn't happen tomorrow, but I would look forward to a day that I went in and there was no close. There was nothing to do because it would be a fresh start to go get more. And like, I missed that part of my, like, starting out when business was slow and going to get it and like selling and knocking on doors. And like, I missed that part of my everyday. Like, you turn the lights on and you're working, you're getting after it. And that's why we're doing a lot of the reason why I want to do what I want to do. I want to go get it again,
Yeah.
So.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. And for my last question, I want to know, do you guys have an exit strategy for your businesses?
Don't die. Peace out.
One thing, I'll start. So with an accounting firm, I've bought out a couple accounting firms over the years, and with an accounting firm, with all businesses, typically there's different ways to value a business, and a business that is not reliant on the owner typically sells for a higher multiple of revenue, right? So if you are selling a restaurant that nobody knows who owns it and it doesn't matter, it could sell for like 5 times its revenue. Where an accounting firm, it is directly related to the guy that owns it because he's there doing the taxes. It's not guaranteed that after he sells it that the clients are going to come back. So it's harder to sell, first of all, especially if you don't own the building that it's sitting in. And typically it goes for 1 times its annual revenue. And most of the time it's in an earn-out fashion where you're getting a percentage of that revenue over a 4 or 5 year span. So it's difficult to sell it. It's not going to make you like it's not this lottery, this grand retirement where I'm going to be able to sell this someday and be great. So one thing that I've kind of shifted my mindset over the years is to shift my business to try to get away from me and try to do more, try to get my staff more involved, try to get more involved in services that are less reliant on me. So leaning more toward payroll, credit card processing, things like that aren't all on me. And it's not just trading dollars for time, but it's a service that you can, and it's recurring revenue, because recurring revenue is real big right now on sales, so that you can take, and there's big payroll companies out there that you can say, hey, I've got this portfolio of payroll that, is doing, $1 million a year worth of revenue, and they'll give you 2 or 3 times that as a buyout, all at one time, lump sum, bang. Because as long as the payroll continues to go, typically the clients go right there with it, especially if the pricing stays the same, and the quality and the service stays the same. But it's a different animal. Credit card processing is the same way, where you can typically, whatever your monthly revenue is, you can sell it for about 30 times that monthly revenue. So trying to shift to things that are more sellable. Not that, I just turned 40. Not that I'm necessarily looking to do that within the next, 5 or 10 years necessarily, but maybe some of it. But to try to shift to more, because when you're in business, like the last thing that's ever been on my mind is a 401k. I've dumped everything that I've had back into the businesses to grow them. So all my investment is sitting here, and I've got rental properties that helps, but I have to, as a business owner, you have to shift that mindset and realize that you don't want to be just an employee of your own business. You want to create a business that is eventually sellable, and that becomes your exit strategy. So you have to, I try to tell that to people when they're starting a business, like you have to be able to scale it and you have to be able to sell it. And you have to consider that exit strategy when you start it. And it's hard to think that with people, because people start a business and they're like, this is going to be like my life and I can't wait to do it. And well, what are you going to do whenever you want out? I don't know. I just want to start it. Well, you need to think about that. So it's something to definitely think about. And, but you have to try to do it so that you're not selling yourself. You're selling the asset that you're creating.
Right. That's something me and Jerry have talked about with my business, is like, I got to figure out a way to not service just such a small area, right? Build this model, sell the model of what I'm trying to accomplish here nationally, and then eventually you then build that reoccurring revenue through subscription-based stuff like that, and then you step aside. And I am under the gun. My daughter's 7. I don't even want her to have an option to take over the family business. I want to be gone by the time she graduates college. I want to be in a role that she can't afford to come work for us.
You don't want her ever working in a dry cleaner. Correct.
Now she wants to work, if we were able to expand it to a situation where she would be in charge of like legal or something involved in the franchise, that's fine. But I'd never want her to have to press a pair of pants. I feel like I would fail her as a father. Not that it's a terrible job. It's just, she's in a better spot than I was as a kid. Like my parents were like, go to work, dig a ditch, do this, and they didn't care about school. They were like, get your homework done. I'm like, no. They're like, oh, you'll deal with that in the morning. Like, you'll get in trouble at school. You're not going to get in trouble here.
Yeah.
So, I guess my exit strategy is to continue where we are now. I think one of the biggest things was buying a building, because without a building, you really don't have much to sell. Without the equipment, you really, hey, I got a really good idea for a dry cleaners, want to buy it?
Yeah. Well, you're shifting your business into something that's more sellable.
Right. Yeah. So it's been a learning curve. We're continuing to learn, and yeah, that's the game plan, is make it sellable.
People buying a business don't want to buy a job. They want to buy a business and something that's going to make the money, that's not necessarily an 80-hour-a-week job. And when you're in the weeds every day, you're just selling a job.
You really don't want to own or finance selling your own business.
No.
Because then you're temporarily selling your job, taking a chance, and then you're going to get your job back eventually.
Right, because you're taking that risk that they're going to default and you're going to end up taking it all back, and there goes your retirement.
Yeah.
The strategy is extremely low personal debt that is going to produce assets in the long term, which will generate passive income, and ends with me on a foreign country on a beach collecting checks. I'll work till the day I die, whether it's on a fishing boat or doing whatever I enjoy. But yeah, the strategy is smart financial decisions over probably the next 30 years, to where I leave my son with something that I didn't have growing up. So yeah, there's a long way to go, but it's acquiring assets instead of working at a job. I'll say that.
And if anybody watches this episode and wants to buy an accounting firm for $5 million or a dry cleaners for $2.5 million, come on, get
$5 million. I'd be gone.
So it seems like the common theme for exit strategies is that with your business, you need to start acquiring assets and making it possible to sell.
Income producing assets, whether it's a business for somebody else, or real estate, or a nest egg, stocks, bitcoins.
You ever see those downsizing yard sales for
Pokemon cards now?
Yeah.
You know, whatever it is, it's got to appreciate in value.
I just had this vision of, like, you know, the guy works for the company, he makes his money, he has his 401k, he's retiring, he's selling his snow shovel at a yard sale. When you're a business owner, you're like, all right, well, we're going to bring somebody in and we have 5 assets that are all worth $1 million each.
Yeah.
And I'll pay someone to throw my snow shovel away when I'm on my way out of town.
Right.
Yeah, it's an addiction too, I think. At some point, you just keep buying shit, like businesses, whatever.
Yeah, the growth mindset is something that I've noticed amongst business owners is kind of a difficult thing to shift out of. Everybody that I've talked to that owns a business is entrepreneurial in spirit. They say that they're just going to work forever. They just don't know what they're going to do. It's like nobody ever knows what they're going to do when they grow up.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. I've always said I wanted to be a ranger at a golf course. Like, hey, back on the cart path.
Just get off my lawn.
Yeah, get off my lawn. That's what Jerry said last episode.
My retirement is I want to sell Harleys.
There you go.
Because I think that would be an awesome job if I didn't need the money. Like, if I was just hanging out selling Harleys, like just talking about Harleys to somebody, that's awesome. That'd be an awesome job. I just don't want to have to need it.
I'd come in once a week and like look at a new Harley. I don't even want a Harley. We're just bullshitting about Harleys.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I know a guy that lives in Hawaii. He's retired, but he works at a surf shop. He's friends with Steven Tyler. Goes to work every day, but ends up on the beach every night. And seems like a great life.
Sure does.
Yeah. Like you figured out what you wanted to do in the job.
Hope so.
Yeah. All right. Well, those are all my questions. I think that I have way more than enough to go on. Thank you all so much for
this was awesome.
Yeah, this was
turned
fun.
out to be a great episode.
We never really get too in depth about ourselves too much.
Yeah, I'm sweating.
So,
no, this was great.
Okay.
So, thanks, Faith. I appreciate that the time.
Faith,
This
good
was
luck
great.
and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Give Faith an A.
Yeah.
It's my subliminal message.
I hope
Faith
you get
gets
an A.
Yeah.
I'm doing pretty good in the class. I'm pretty optimistic.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
It was nice meeting you.
All right.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Between Two Bridges, a business-to-business podcast. Find and follow us on your preferred podcast streaming platform. Like and subscribe, and leave us a rating and review. You can join us socially on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Yes, we still call it Twitter. You can email the show at info@betweentwobridgespodcast.com. Until next time, make it till you rake it.